just to give you the heads up for today, what we are going through for the most part is relatively basic for a lot of the information to give you some new stuff. The Infinite Campus and School Loop stuff will be very teacher focused because I think everybody in here, that is the role that we're in. That's why we tried to divide the groups today. But the first thing we're going to show you the new PD website if you haven't gotten there yet. Look at some changes just to the LHS homepage and kind of talk about some stuff with that. Really basic discussion on Google Drive. We won't get very detailed with that. Infinite Campus and School Loop, I'm going to show you just a handful of things that might be useful to start the school year off and some things that I've done with that. And then if anyone is having the dreaded My Documents folder problem still, I don't think anybody should be, but if you are, well, might be able to help you answer some questions with that at the end. And then we're going to try to leave about 15 minutes again at the end, so there's laptop cards. If you wanted to pull a laptop out, you can. Amy is videoing this session, so if I blow by something too quick and you want to go back and look at it, it'll be up on the PD website, hopefully by tomorrow. So, the PD website. Again, for those of you that haven't seen it, the idea with this was really just to create somewhere to avoid 8 million emails and always having to go dig through the 8 million emails and hoping that you found the one with the most recent change of the PD calendar. So we're trying to create one place for everything to go. I will say this is very bare bones right now because we just did this over the summer and we're adding a lot to it here in the coming weeks. But big thing that I want to stress to everybody is if there's anything at all that you want to see added to the website, please email us and let us know so that we can add it. If there's a section you say, oh, it'd be really helpful to have whatever added in. We can change this however's best for everybody. But really the goal for this was just to have if you don't know what you're doing in Infinite Campus with something, if you don't know what's going on in the menu day, you want to know the PD calendar, you shouldn't have to look 14 different places to find all those things. And we just tried to bring it into one place.
There's also just...
Where's this linked out of?
Right now, it's only in the email link, but we're going to be adding it to the Limerick homepage here within the next week or two.
Okay, and again, part of what we're doing is not just making it a place where you can locate like help, but also to just consolidate a lot of different things into one, easier to reach location. Because I know if you're like me, you're here and there and everywhere, and it's annoying because it's just, it's too spread out. All of the information is really spread out. So there's more than just videos and help. It's going to be a place. We're going to be doing some work on the website itself as well, and we're going to show you that tab in just a second to show some of the changes that we're trying to incorporate just to make it more user-friendly and easy to access for you guys.
Yeah, and I'd say like if there's questions that you have, like if we find that 7 or 8 people are like, hey, how do I reset my password? We'll just make a video for it and put it up there so that we can do that. If you find, one thing I'll say, if you find websites that you go to that have lots of teacher-related tools or resource websites, you could even send me the link and tell me what it is that you like about it, and I'll add it into these website lists so that we have a place for teachers to go without having to search the infinite universe of Google. Not that that's not useful, but sometimes there's a lot more than we need. So, so anyway, all that kind of stuff is going to go here, and this is kind of just our central hub. So for the School Loop site, just a couple of things to point out because I know, especially for me, this whole thing on the right, people said, that's where you go to find stuff. I'm like, great. And then after day 2, I forgot what was over there. If you have students, which you will the first week, especially those of you that teach freshmen, that are having troubles with the online tools like School Loop and all of that kind of stuff, Amy is our resident password help guru. So if you're needing kids to figure out what their password and stuff is, send them to the library to her, but they can also click this need help with online tools link, and that has School Loop, Infinite Campus, like all the tips that are student directed. That's not really intended for you as much as it is for them, but it's a really good place to direct them so that you don't have to sit and show them for 20 minutes on a computer what to do.
One more thing about the password stuff. You're going to have a lot of, especially you teachers of freshmen, a lot of students will not have logged in to school computers yet. If that's the case, send them down to the library. has them change their passwords. And anytime students are having problems with passwordy kind of stuff, tell them, you know, if you need to change a password or reset a password, don't do it at home. The best place to do that is at school, because that's where not only are you going to be able to do it faster, but you're going to be able to find the people and find the help that you need to get it changed. Okay?
You can save Amy a little bit of trouble by first asking them if they know if they've recently gotten onto a Lindbergh computer or a network, because the password is the same. Sometimes that's all they need is to have their memory jog that it's the same for all of their accounts, and then they aren't kind of flooding the library looking to reset a password that they don't really need to reset.
Sarah?
So when they sign into like a Chromebook, that's also the same?
Same, yep.
Yeah.
So the unifying password system that they have, and this really started last year, Infinite Campus, School Loop, all of the Google related information, which would be the Chromebooks because they use their Google accounts for that, all of that stuff has the same password. So a change anywhere changes all of them, and that's staff and students alike.
In the past, I've had a sheet that I put up in the computer labs and I put up in the library, but if you guys want me to send you that same sheet so you know exactly what it is, I will be glad to do that. I'll just make tons of copies for everybody so you know what it means and what they need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the freshmen already they've already signed in, ideally, all of them at this point?
We were trying to get that done during Viking days. I would say that maybe half of your freshmen will have been able to log in and change their passwords, so they'll be able to get into School Loop. The other half will need to come to the library and get that taken care of.
Yeah. So that first week with freshmen especially, there may be a lot of people that can't access yet
Yeah,
until
so
they come to the
go
library.
easy on those freshmen who are not getting onto School Loop and checking their homework the first night.
So if we go to the lab with freshmen, can we have help?
Yes, that's a good point. If you want to get them all taken care of, make sure that they're all taken care of, head to a computer lab, schedule some time in the library, and get them through. That's a really good idea.
Another suggestion too, even for teachers, I would recommend if you've never experienced this awesome headache, if you're getting this time of year, it's pretty common, you'll get a, hey, change your password notification. Do that here on the school's Wi-Fi, because what I've had happen to me in the past is I change that password at home, and then it doesn't change with Outlook, and then my email gets locked out, and then they're like, hey, what do I do? And this password is one, and and then nothing syncs correctly. So if you change your password, if you can at all, do it here on the school network, because it will save you lots of potential. Yeah.
Do you recommend doing that preemptively, or should we wait till?
Either way is fine. If you are nervous, it may force you. Usually you'll start getting a notice like 7 days in advance. I would say don't wait until it forces you. Once you start getting the notice, go ahead and change your password.
That's true. You should be getting notifications like
Once a year,
you need to
usually.
change your password, and like your password will.
I've never got a notice ever.
No, I usually get them at least once, if not twice a year.
Who
So
hasn't gotten that?
I'm not like complaining.
that's good. That's good. Maybe it's just with the news. Maybe we're the only ones that bother. Yeah, I was gonna, maybe it is a newer account thing then. Maybe that's why.
Okay, that's a good point. So if you're concerned about that whole password change and that it's gonna, you're at home and you're working on something vital and now you can't get back into that because you have to change your password, go and talk to Tuan and he can set it up to where you won't have to deal with that at all. You won't
No
have to
password
change your
changes
password over
ever.
the course of the year.
Use the same password for 30 years. All right, so one other thing on the website down here in the teacher tools, I just want to point out, I know a lot of you use the links over here. We are going to be rearranging and consolidating this section. I wanted to let you know we're not throwing anything from here away. So if you look over and you're like, oh, that link is gone, either one, it's been renamed and put some, like right now we have links for forms in 4 different places. And I'm always like, I don't know which link has the magic form I need. We're going to be trying to put those all in one place so that you don't have 4 different links to find them. The IC buttons and those, the commonly used ones, are going to stay, but we're going to be moving some of the stuff. It's like the LHS teacher resources that'll go into the PD website. So you may see some of that stuff move, but again, we're not throwing any of it out. So if there's a link there that you use that all of a sudden is gone, we'll try to keep all of the site-based ones like Naviance, Outlook, keep those there. But then for everything else, we may be moving it around. So just to kind of give you the heads up for that.
library textbooks, that's the link that you guys can click to get into that textbook field, but it's also the link that will get you to the catalog. So just so you know, if there's 2 tabs, one of them is to the catalog, and you can access the catalog and check to see which books are available in the library there, if you didn't know that already. If you have textbook needs, Rick and Tanya are taking care of that aspect of it. So if you could shoot them an email to let them know what you need, that would be great.
So again, that should be it for,
Maya.
I just want to mention the ASOP button. If you need a sub, if you're at home and you don't feel good, that's where you go to request your sub. If you need your login information, see me or Mary Ann. We can tell you what it is. Most people, it's their phone number, home phone number, cell phone number. And then there's a PIN code. Sometimes it's related to something, sometimes it's not. So we can give you that. And I know Mary Ann, I know Mary Ann too. If you know you're going to be out and you want a certain step, just let her know, and she can do it for you. But sometimes I know if you guys wake up in the middle of the night, you're not feeling good, that's where you have to.
Since we're talking about ASOP, do you want to talk about that whole, make sure you take attendance? I know it's not, it's kind of
we'll
related.
do it with Infinite Campus, so we can cover it all at the same time, because it'll be related to the IC stuff.
Oh, gosh.
And then,
Yes,
Brad, is that
that would be
TV
ideal.
live?
Dave was playing with it.
Not yet, it will be within the next week
So
though.
that's where you go.
We haven't had a chance to light it up yet, but we will. So, but yeah, you'll see that once the changes start to take place, you'll see the link to the PD website over here as well. Okay, so with that being said, really, really briefly, just to kind of help clear up some confusion with Google Drive. There's a lot of people I know that I've talked to that know what Google Drive does as far as like, hey, that's where I find all my Google Docs. It's true. I mean, anytime you make Google Docs or Google stuff, it goes in your Google Drive, which you log into with your FUHSD account. But what a lot of people, I think, don't realize is that it's a storage container, the same as Dropbox and some of those other ones if you're familiar with them. The little drive icon down here, if you've never paid much attention to it, if it's colored and lit up like that, like you see on my screen, that means it's connected to the internet and it should be syncing everything and storing it. If it's, I think it's like hollowed and grayed out, that means that it's not connected to the internet, so anything that you save there isn't going to be stored in the cloud. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I don't like to use Google Drive because I have to be connected to the internet. Maybe not necessarily. So the thing to keep in mind is, I can open my Google Drive folder, which is, again, just click here, open Google Drive
And
folder.
your path may be different. You might not have that little icon. It may be in your, if you go to the little file folder over there on the left-hand side and you click on that, you can also get to it that. But if you, there, yeah, right there.
If
So
you
most
can't
of
find
you
it,
will find it that way.
yeah.
If you don't have the
can't
little
find
icon
it,
at the bottom.
just let us know and we can help you get to it. But the main thing to point out is how this thing works. If I save files here, this is like any other folder on my computer. The only difference being, once it's saved, the copy of this gets stored at Google. It doesn't remove it from your computer and put it in Google's network. It just stores a copy of it there so that from anywhere else, from your cell phone, an iPad, another computer, you can go get that copy, or you can just go to drive.google.com and you can find them in here. But a lot of people, I think, are confused. You can save more than just Google files. A Microsoft Word file, a PowerPoint file, any of that stuff can be saved in this. And the reason that's useful, we have unlimited cloud storage as teachers, which is about $100 a year, I think, through Dropbox to get something like that. So it's a really good deal, and you can't, I think it says you have 1 terabyte or 10 terabytes of storage, which if any of you can fill that up, wow, that's pretty impressive. But the thing is it's nice because you can save everything here. So like those of you that had the My Documents folder scare, the nice thing about this is your My Documents folder is backed up on 1 computer in Twan's office. And as we saw, if it goes down, we may not have a backup of it, or there may not be a lot to do with it. Google backs up all of this stuff. So if you're saving stuff here, you're backed up by the infinite world of Google as opposed to just the local stuff. and again, there's other features that you can access it from apps and all that kind of stuff too. So I recommend that you guys use it, but mainly just I want you to understand kind of the basic of what it is. As we go through the year, if you find that, like especially your PLC, like you guys really want to start finding ways to coordinate with Google Docs or something like that. Amy and I are going to be trying to really change the way that we approach most of the menu days and stuff, so that instead of us running half of the stuff and then trying to shoulder tap people, we're going to be shoulder tapping you for all of it, so that we aren't tied up. Because really what we want to do is, like during PLC time, we're going to be coming around to the PLC, so if you guys have specific questions or things you want help with, let us know. We'll
Or
come around to
specific
your group.
training or whatever it is.
Yeah, so like if you find your whole department or your PLC has something they just want to know more about and it's just not getting covered, just send us an email. We'll set up a Wednesday morning and we'll come to you so that we can come help the smaller groups, that way we don't have to show stuff to everybody that only certain groups of people are interested in finding out. So,
Erin, did we cover what you were?
Well, I kind of always wondered where I should be saving things, like, because I tend to just save them on my desktop, because then I can see all the folders that I need. And now, you know, I can put it on Google Drive, and then I should also be saving it to my documents, like it just.
It's confusing.
so here's what I would suggest. Saving everything to your desktop makes it easy to find, but it's not backed up anywhere. If something ever happens to your computer, it's all gone. If you save it to my documents, it's easy to find and it's backed up here at school. If you save it to Google Drive, you can find it just by opening the Google Drive folder, which you can put a shortcut to on your desktop really easily, and then you can store it all there and it's backed up by all of Google stuff. Now I would recommend, people say, well, if I have it on my desktop, do I need to make a copy of it? Don't store it in 3 places, just store it in the Google Drive folder. So you can store it in one place.
A shortcut on my desktop?
Yeah, so if you want a shortcut for it, I think you can even just right click on this and open Google Drive folder. You can do this and then just make shortcuts, create shortcuts on your desktop. I'll put a link.
Or you could just drag the file onto your desktop and it'll make a shortcut.
Yeah, so I think you can actually just drag it up and it just.
Can you
creates a
access it
shortcut.
when you're not Wi-Fi?
Yes. Yeah, it's just a folder. The only difference is if you're not online and you make changes, it won't sync
Up
to
to
Google
it. Oh.
until then. But that's the thing, as I was saying, if the internet goes down, you don't lose all your Google stuff. Now, the stuff created in Google Docs and some of that stuff, if it hasn't synced, you may not have that. But again, you won't lose files if the internet goes down. It's just, it won't
Be able to
sync.
access
Are
it.
there permissions that Google has with our stuff? Like, do they become the owners of it if we put it up there?
I mean, if you're really worried that
I just mean if
Google's
I'm putting my
interested
tests
in
and
it.
everything, I don't know, like student, whatever, just like student images and, I mean, whatever. Videos.
Yeah, I mean, Google's not gonna do anything, they're not gonna make it publicly searchable, so it's not like a kid could Google the file once it's uploaded to Drive. Like, they won't be able to search your files on Google kind of thing, if that's what you're wondering. It's still your private information. I mean, it's not like it's gonna become public, but yeah, it's on Google's server somewhere, but nobody would be able to find it. Even a Google employee would probably have a hard time digging it out, yeah.
Okay, so I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and many hundreds
Uh-huh.
of files.
Uh-huh.
Okay, do I just, in order to get this on Google Docs, do I just
Drag them in.
drag,
You
do
know
I
what?
just drag the documents folder over?
You can do it that way. Again, if you have lots of documents and they're kind of free, floating within in an area,
Yeah.
you want to stick them all in a folder and then upload the folder.
For
rather
instance,
than having to go and upload every single document, never do that.
Okay,
No,
well,
you don't
all right,
have to
well, I
do
didn't
that.
know, I didn't,
Yeah.
what I meant was, I could take my American literature folder.
yeah, so like
Yeah.
here,
Plop it there.
if you look in the corner,
Yep.
All right.
that folder in the top, that courses folder, that's got all of my stuff in it. If I want to back that folder up and just make a copy of it, all I have to do is drag that folder over here, and it may take some time because it's gonna
Yeah,
take, it's a
it'll
lot of
take
data to sync, but it'll just start backing it up as soon as it's in there, so.
So if you take your My Documents folders over to Google Drive, does it create PDFs? Does it store it as a Word version, which then you can edit and you have to go?
However it's saved on your computer, it saves it just like that. So it's just like moving it from one folder to another, it just gets backed up to Google.
So if I want to edit a Word document
Wait, no, for instance, let me show you. So my geometry syllabus here, if I put this in my Google Drive folder, okay, so now it's stored in Google. If we look at the little icon, Google's gonna tell me, hey, it's syncing a file. So it's over here in the Google folder, but if I open it up, it still opens it up as a Word document. So it doesn't change how it opens. It doesn't Google it, it doesn't turn it into the Google universe. Now I can open it with Google Docs if I wanted to, but it leaves it just as if I moved it from one folder to another. It just backs it up.
I think, Terry, the concern that you might be having and you might be thinking about is like when you open it in a browser, that's where you won't be able to edit it.
Yeah, so like if
But
I
if you open
access
it on
Google
your
Drive
computer,
here,
then you can.
if I access Google Drive here, now if I open that syllabus, it's going to open it using Google
The
Docs
keyboard.
because that's the only way the web can do it.
You can have two versions.
But it's not that it has two versions, it's just the tool on the web browser opens it the way that Google opens it, so you'll see it as a Google thing.
I've actually had something different happen where I'll open a Word doc in my Google folder and it'll just show like a black background. That's a viewer. It's just showing you what that document looks like. You can read through it, you can check it out. But if you're in a browser and you want to edit that document and that's the only place that you saved it, then what you'll need to do is convert that document to a Google Doc, and then you'll be able to edit it.
We trying to do that with PLCs, like trying to edit a document online through Google, and it does really funny things where you'll keep opening different.
Yeah.
So your best bet, if you're going to do any kind of collaboration, make it a Google Doc and not a Word doc. Don't start with a Word file, start with a Google file. And that's where the collaboration really is going to work the best.
So follow-up question maybe could be handled later, if it's not, if it doesn't fit with the agenda, but I think there's a way to sync your Google Drive in School Loop so that students are viewing.
Yeah.
So maybe stuff like that.
Yeah, let me get to the end and we'll hit the free time at the end. I can probably cover that. Okay?
Yeah.
One other big advantage too as well, we realize that you do Google Drive here, you just bring it up at home as well. And everything that you basically have here would be the same, or on your laptop. And Google keeps it all sorted out, so they're all the same. And so you don't ever worry about backing up access or any of that, it just gets taken care of. And so all of this, I need to copy it from there, but it's all.
Or if you're using flash drives to take stuff from one place to the other, it
Yeah.
takes care of that problem
Yeah, you
completely.
don't have to do that anymore.
And again, all the students have Google Drive accounts too, so they all have access to the same exact thing, so they can sync it up themselves. All right, let me get out of the classified view and into certificated. So, yeah, just one thing. Yeah, let me get to that with school. That'll be useful there. Okay, so as we start the year, let me just bring up my reference here. Okay, so some things with Infinite Campus. Start of the school year, we've all got 8 million new students. And the freshmen, this doesn't apply to until obviously the yearbook pictures are taken. But if you want to be able to see the pictures of all of your students, now that would be whether you want it for seating charts or you want it for attendance, you just want their pictures to show up. You can get the pictures to show up by going down to account settings. And then once you click on account settings, you can, okay, I want to see student ID numbers, see student pictures. In this data that's here, I can check those boxes so that whenever I pull up attendance, it pulls up a picture of the kid next to it, which again, I find especially in those first couple weeks is really, really helpful so that you can see who in the world you're talking to. Really, for me, it's the first semester, because in December, there's still some unfortunate ones. I'm like, I think I got you figured out. That's terrible, but it's true. You can also tell it to show active students only, so if you got kids that are dropping and you don't want to see the drop students or things like that. So the settings there, that's really for just like your attendance taking, you'll see those settings show up there. If you're wanting to create seating charts, I think a lot of you probably know you can do this in school. You can create seating charts in School Loop too, but in School Loop, I'm almost positive you don't have access to the pictures. So you can create a seating chart, but you can't create a seating chart with images. With the pictures for your subs, I will tell you, is super helpful if you can create seating charts in IC, because you can print them out for the sub as the seating chart with their pictures. So over here on the left-hand side, seating charts, create a new seating chart. By the way, if you haven't found it, all of your rosters are in IC. If you're still seeing last year's stuff up here, you need to change it to this year, because some people are still seeing all the kids from last year. You just need to click on this and change it to 16, 17. All of your kids did not fail, hopefully. But if I want to create a seating chart for my geometry class, I can set it up, give it a name, however many rows and columns I want to create, that's fine. And then you can auto-generate these seating charts if you want to. Errors required. What that mean? Oh, name. Wow. So create my seating chart, and then it comes up here. You can X students out and throw students back, throw blank spots, so you can create empty spaces if you want to make it customized however you want. But again, because the pictures are showing, I can print these seating charts out for the subs or for yourself, and the images will all show. And you can even have them show student ID numbers on these reports as well.
Yeah. That's gonna be a fun class for you. How do you print it?
So if you want to print, that's a good question. If you want to print things, what you're going to do is go to roster, okay, or you go to reports, and you can come down here to look at your reports, and you can actually print out seating charts. Now,
Oh, you can print it from here.
You can print right from the report.
Yes.
was there,
Go back to
Back-
the
did I miss it?
Did you report
Oh, I
out?
haven't made one yet, so I got to make a new.
We need to save it.
I didn't
He
save
never said
the seating chart. No, I didn't save Bob. We'll save Bob so I can have Bob for later. And then
If you save
delete
now,
this one.
Yeah, click save.
So save this one, and then I can go print it.
Report options.
Report options.
There it is. So report options, and then I can print it and choose what I want it to show. This is really helpful if the student nickname is online. So you have students who have a different name that they go by, as long as it's registered
Oh,
with
we
the
don't have to
system.
make our own nickname?
Well, you can. You usually don't call those out, at least not the first one. Bob 1, Bob 2, Bob 3.
Diana?
So we already, like, last year, you know those little boxes, they're just kind of a pain to move around? But last year, we had like maybe groups instead of rows. Is there a way to like, that holds, just shift it so I don't have to
You can move
redesign?
those around.
Yes?
Yeah, you can just drag these and move the student wherever you want to move them, and then you can create, like, if I had,
Oh, okay.
There, tracks on tracks.
so if I drag them here, I can do this, or if I want this seat to be blank, I can cross
See you
this
later.
out, and then just drag them and it won't
Well, yeah, well,
auto.
just drag
It would require.
Just drag it in blank space, Brad.
Let them create 6 by 6 rather than 5 by 5.
Right, yeah, so anywhere you have it somewhere empty, you want to count that as an additional row.
No,
or
Brad,
something.
drag him into the empty
Say,
space.
say can start and move.
Take this person out here, and it's empty.
Just release.
So
There,
now
you
they're
sit.
hanging out off to the side,
That's
and you
his
can
seat.
rearrange it and move it. So this guy's sitting outside the
Okay, so you only need to make it once, and you can copy it to all your classes. Okay, so it's like a copy layout.
So
Okay.
you can copy the layout, so if you're using the same seating arrangement,
Another thing
and then
I'm
you just
thinking-
fill them in.
Another thing I'm thinking about is like I have access to all my like 5 years worth of my classes. If you put the 16, 17 Lynbrook up in the green area, I maybe not.
Well, I'm not saved, so
Okay.
if I
So
save
I
it.
think up there you can click back to all your other classes.
Mhm.
And you might be able to, I'm gonna try to experiment, but I may be able to look up an attendance, like arrangement from that class and then just copy that layout.
Yeah, so copy in
So it's
all
like,
years.
I'm in a horseshoe and it's a pain in the backside to make that, like that circle the way I want it, to print it out for the, but once it's done, you can just keep copying it.
So, some other,
Yeah, I can,
Friday, because we're starting, you'll lose your access.
I just think, one quick thing I want to point out with this, there has been, I have not personally experienced this, but I know that there's a couple of people that have talked about the fact that when TAs get added, there are people who have lost seating charts. I would say it's useful to print out your seating chart right after you make them. Again, it's never happened to me, but I know there's been multiple teachers who have said when the office added a TA to their class, the whole seating chart got thrown out. So I would recommend at the very least, make a copy. And again, remember, if it gets thrown away, like Andy was saying, you can copy the layout back to that one and fill them back in to speed it up. But just be aware, I haven't had it, but there are enough people that have said it that be careful, because when they add TAs, there has been some history with that causing some problems.
The other thing that's happened with TAs is if you're using a seating chart and you have an added TA, and I've never had it remove my seating chart, but it never added the TA to my seating chart, and I'm using my seating chart for attendance, and it didn't show my TA on the attendance, and so I was never marking my TA.
So the TA will always be counted present. So when you can set your attendance, if you go down to the settings, in the account settings, you can tell it whether you want to use your seating chart for attendance or not. And if you look, if you click out of the seating chart, you'll see your TA show
Any
up.
students who has your class
Show
too.
up there, Okay, so another question that I've gotten is people want to know, okay, there's a student I want to look up that I don't have. Because most of us know that, like, if I go look at my roster, I can click on any kid and go get all their information, right? I can click on the student, click to student information, and now I've got the old view with all of the student stuff, right? But if you want to look up any other kid, all you have to do is, again, up here to get between this view, this is the campus instruction view. The other one I was just at is called Campus Tools. Campus Community is just like a forum with all the announcements and stuff. But over here, if you go to search, I can look up any student and type in their last name, comma first. Obviously, I picked one that has 8 million of them in here. So I can then go find any of the kids. And that's where, like, I've had this in the past where I've used this. I had a student, and I was like, hey, do they have a sibling who's going to school here? Because all of a sudden they started doing really well in their homework. And I know I had another student with this last name, and I found out, hey, that was their brother. Oh, by the way, the brother was here 3 years ago, and it just so happens the student was getting all the homework answers from their brother who was here 3 years ago. But you can still go find that information. But you can look up any student that's current, and then once you click on them, if you want to look up siblings and all that, I think. So, depending on what view, a lot of you, when you open up Infinite Campus, it looks like this. If you want to get back to basically the old view before the update last year, up here where these little tiles are, if you click that, and then click Campus Tools, this will take you back here. Now the other reason this is helpful, if I go look at my student information, like if I have a student with an IEP, for example, let me get one of my students up here. If I have a student who has an IEP, right, I've got this up here and we all go, hey, he has an IEP, but now what? Right? A lot of times it's hard to find them. Once I have the student pulled up, if you go back to index and click on student information, special education, and then you click on general, now it takes me to all the special education relevant stuff to that student. So if I want to find the IEP and I don't want to dig through the 8,000 emails to go find it because we get them email, you can find all the documents by going and looking at the documents here. Contact logs if you have students, this is IEP, and otherwise that contact log, if there's a lot of communication to and from with parents, and you want to find out if you're the only teacher that's doing all that communication, you can see the contact log there. One thing I will point out, Eric, Jose, the admin team, they have a different view of the contact log, okay? I use this myself because what will happen is, let's say that I have a kid who looks off of his neighbor's paper, right? And I don't, for whatever reason, it comes out to be this minor incident, and I don't want to file an official report to nail the kid to the wall so it goes on their permanent record. I'll call Eric and let him know what happened. He'll just make a note of it. It never shows up, it never follows the kid forever. But the thing is if I've done that, and Robert has the same incident with the same kid, and he calls Eric, Eric will be like, hey, this is the third time it's happened. I think it's time that we nail the kid now. And I've actually had that where I was going to let a kid off, and I contacted Eric, and he goes, you know what, 2 different English classes, he's already had this problem. And the kid got busted for it. I mean, rightfully so. But if you're not communicating that stuff with the office, there's no way for it to go into the permanent log. And teachers, I couldn't see it anywhere to get access to that information. But Eric had it all hidden in the office, and the counselors can see it too.
Yeah, so on the general
have, there is a student contact log, but we don't see that as teachers.
Right.
So it's up there for like guidance and office staff, and admin, but we don't get that. Do we actually have access to the special ed one if we're one of their
I
team
don't,
members?
I think that it would only be the contact, that would be relevant to the IEP related
Oh.
stuff. So I don't think, like, if there were disciplinary issues, I don't think it
No,
would
we
show
didn't
up.
say that wouldn't be there. I just didn't know if we actually have access to that special ed one or not.
Yeah, I don't know, view, I know you can pull it up, but I don't know how much view is there. Yeah.
Click on that button to see what we see, the special ed button, see if we can see it through our,
So if you click this,
on that red button.
Oh, up here?
Yeah.
It's just informational stuff.
No, I think because.
now if I click on documents, I can see all the documents. But now, I will say, certain students' documents may not be uploaded yet. So like if you have freshmen with an IEP, there's a good chance that stuff won't get in the system for a couple weeks. So day one, don't expect all of that to be there, or it may be previous dated stuff. But yeah, if they've been in the system at any point, it should be up there for you to see.
Okay, so if you wanted to search for a student, and I know that you're doing it by last name, you don't have to do that, you can do it by first name. I mean, any last name more than 5 letters, I just kind of forget. That's a joke, but you know how there's names like 13 letters last names?
It's actually quicker.
You can go to the search,
Comma, space, and then
and then
the
now you
first
just go,
name.
like, click the search box, and then it'll say advanced search.
Mhm.
I click that, and I just put in their first name, boom. That's how I find it.
You can also just put a comma and then do the.
Yeah, you can also
Yeah.
just put comma, space on their first name, and it'll pull it up that way too. So a couple different ways to search.
Comma, then the name, and then.
Yeah.
Can we see who other teachers were the previous year?
Yeah, so if I have, for instance, if I wanted to look back at this student, let's go back to the general info, and I want to go look at, in the transcript, it'll show the courses, but I don't think it will show the teacher. I don't think it will show the teacher. So you may, I don't know, I'd have to look. I don't know that you can find the teacher information from previous years, only for current years. So like if you look at their schedule, it shows,
Cruncher.
the schedule tab shows, in Cruncher it would show that, yeah. Yeah, in Cruncher, all that data's in there, and that's eternal, so all the way back since we started using Cruncher. But for schedule, you can find this. And then obviously the attendance stuff and all those kind of things you can look up too.
One more note, would you mind telling everyone?
Oh, Brad, I was just looking at this. Following along is the overachiever that I am. On the mobile version, on that grid up there where you can change the tools, you can't do that on the mobile version.
Oh, okay. Yeah, on the mobile version, it's restricted to just one, and I think the mobile version is really just intended. I think their hope is that it's more attendance related, so like you can use the app on your phone to do attendance and stuff. I've done it a couple times. I think the computer for me is always a little easier if I have it out, but yeah, you can certainly use the mobile version.
Okay, so now I'm gonna make my plug for attendance.
Alright.
Please get your attendance in early and accurately. It's important, Mary leaves at 4 o'clock, so she'd like all attendance data in before 3:30. What happens is the district pulls the attendance and calls start going out for any student who is marked absent. So she said, if you wait till you get home and do your attendance at 5 o'clock at night, those calls are already going up. And then parents get all mad because I called and cleared my student and blah, blah, blah. So it saves her a lot of grief and you a lot of grief.
Yeah.
And you won't get any emails from her saying.
From the system standpoint, it's kind of like we get lucky because Mary takes care of a lot of stuff, but it really does create a whole lot of headaches for her. So just try to do the best you can with the attendance. And again, you can use phones and stuff like that to take the attendance if you want. Okay. So any other IC questions before we wrap it up with School Loop? Cool. All right, so for School Loop, how much time do I have, by the way? What is it? 10:20 is the end time? 10:40 is the end, okay, good, so if I went into School Loop, a couple things I just want to point out, and let me make sure I don't forget my train of thought here. So for the locker, again, you can use seating charts and things like that, but what I personally, I like the seating charts in IC because of the pictures. You can make them in here if you don't want to deal with into the campus. But the roster reporting out of School Loop is really nice. So one thing that I will say, there's a lot of tech tools out there that you can use for a lot of things in your classroom. One of the drawbacks to a lot of them is, like, let's say I want a random name picker. It's a pain to put 180 students into random name pickers manually. Most of them have an import from Google Drive or an import from Dropbox feature, but it requires you to have the names formatted a certain way. So it'll say, give me some document that has first and last names, right? So with your classes in here, if you click on the More tab and you go to Roster Tools, and I have to thank Mark Kwong for showing me this a couple years ago because he saves me about 1 million hours a year with this. You can actually tell it to export your roster as a text file or an Excel spreadsheet, and it will export that stuff. And most of the tools that I've found that you have to import names into will take one of these two formats. So you just export it and then put it in your Google Drive, and then in the other app you can find it, click it. If you have trouble with it, I can help you with that later. But this is good for getting your stuff out so that you don't have to manually input things. And I find that you have, the way that this works tends to be nicely formatted for a lot of the things that I've done. I will say too, for people that teach the same prep, I haven't ever brought this up, but if I'm teaching a course this year, and we make our calendars for those of you that use School Loop to show your students what to do. I don't know how many people know this, but you can actually go get all of last year's data and copy and paste it directly to this year's without having to recreate your assignments one by one and typing everything in again. So, for instance, if I look at my grade books for my geometry class, right? And okay, this is my normal grade book, but if I go back to here and I go to course archives, I can go look at those courses for the last however many years I've taught them. So for instance, if I go back to geometry and I look at my assignments in 2014, 2015, all of the assignments that I created, the due dates and everything are here, and I can just click, oh, syllabus, copy, and show me what course to copy it to, and the whole assignment is created. Now, you don't have to go back
Oh, you
and
do it one at a time, though.
you do it one at a time, but if you compare it, if you're doing it manually and you're typing all this stuff in, this is 1,000,000 times faster.
Now, when you save this, does it go back to the previous page you were on?
Yeah, so once I've saved this, it'll go back to the list of all the old assignments, and I can just keep copying. But if you know that year to year, there's units or large chunks of stuff that you're redoing, like for instance, George and I, when we make assignments, a lot of times we embed links, and it takes a long time to make the links to all the websites. It's so much faster to just copy these old assignments over. Now the only thing I'll tell you, the only thing, unless this has changed, this category right here will automatically default to assignment. So if you're copying and pasting a test or a quiz, you may have to double check to make sure that this is the right category. Everything else copies exactly as it was. So even the dates, so now obviously you might be off by a day or something, but it'll even copy the dates and all of that stuff over, and everything that's in here and all the links, it all gets copied for you.
Can you show us how to get there?
Yeah, just go to your, if you click on your portal page, don't say, if I click on the portal and you go to course archives, you can find any course you've ever taught, even if it was 3 years ago, it's all still saved. You can get access to all of that information. So, yeah, your locker is there, so even the locker from those previous years. Yeah, so if I click on course archives, here's the list of the courses, so you just go find the year and the course that you want. And then whether you want the notes, or you can even go look at the progress reports that you published to Julie from those years, that's all there. So anything that you put on School Loop is all saved for all those years, all the way back to however long you've been using it. So that's a really nice start of the year tool to help with. Another thing, and a lot of times I have people that'll say, year to year, I don't know what class so-and-so is teaching. Or, the bigger one for PD, I want to know what so-and-so is doing in their class. And yeah, we can always email, but if I want to go see what George is doing in his class, if I click on this link, and I'll show you again where that is, classrooms and websites, every teacher in Lynbrook shows up. So if I wanted to go find Stephen, I'll pick on Stephen for a minute. If I go look at Stephen's, I can go look at Steven's calendar for this class and see everything he's published in School Loop that his students can see. Now, I can't see his gradebook, obviously, but if I want to see what they're doing, I can see his whole calendar up there for every single teacher in the school year.
So you're telling us basically we can stalk our
You can stalk whoever you want as long as they're putting it on School Loop. If they're not posting it, you can't see it.
All right.
Yeah.
I try to use, I'm not the biggest fan of School Loop. In fact, I'm the worst fan of School Loop. But last year I tried to use this calendar and I found like I couldn't go to a box and just start typing.
Well, you have to, so like if you want to add something, like if I want, first, let me get back to mine because I'm on certain. So if I'm on my calendar, up here, if I just click the little plus,
yeah.
What do I want to add? An assignment, a lesson, a unit, an event, and what I here, let me point something out. Lessons, units, and events are awkward. So if you're trying to tell them lecture-wise what you're posting, I don't remember if it's lessons or events. One of them year to year. Yeah, you want to add everything as an event, not as a lesson. Adding lessons, you can't copy and paste them. You can't reuse them. They're just like the one-time thing. So what I would recommend, any gradable item, you can add it as an assignment. If you want it to only be added to the calendar, but not to your gradebook, you can actually do that with an assignment. You can click Add Assignment, and it gives you this like kind of view here that shows you everything. Or the better way would be to add content up here and actually add the assignment, and it takes you to this window. But the nice thing about this is I can take it out of the gradebook. So like if it's a reading assignment and you just want them to see it on their calendar, and for the students it's helpful.
I use the IC gradebook. So.
For students, the reason this is helpful is when they log into School Loop, if you haven't seen the student view, all they see when they log in is a big checklist of what they have left to do. And as they finish it, they click it, it marks it off, and they see everything that's up and coming. So if you post your reading assignment like this, but you don't put it in your gradebook, you'll never see it in your gradebook. But they do see it as a to-do list item on School Loop. So everyone who posts an assignment, they see them all in one place. Now, if you put them in different websites, like you don't use School Loop, they'll go check other places for them. But they see this as a to-do list, not the same way that you do.
So do students receive an email with all of the assignments, and at what time?
I think they can set it. They have the ability in their account settings, I think, to set it so that anytime a new item is added, it can email them, and they would get that when you add it. So as soon as you add it, but I don't know by default if that's turned on. No. It would probably happen live, I think. Yes.
Hey, sometimes, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but if the assignment date is the 11th and the due date is the 15th, sometimes it seems like it appears on my calendar on the 11th and the 15th. Have you ever?
So, okay, so it shows up two different ways. So that's a good one. So let's say I assigned it on the 11th, it's due on the 15th, right? We created, it's called assignment, right? So we'll publish this guy. Whoops, what's it saying? Oh, it's not in the school year. So we're gonna assign it on the 16th, it's due on the 19th, and publish. Okay, so by default, this is the view that you're gonna see. And this is only showing due dates of everything. If you go up here to show me, and you check the assign date, now it's going to show me in one color when it was assigned and in another color when it's due.
The unfortunate thing is that the assigned date always is off by default. So when you log out, log back in again, and it's going to be turned off.
Yeah,
you can't set it on.
Which, if you're going to reuse these year to year, one nice thing is like for us, we want to know when we assigned and it was due, because I need to know how long I gave the students to complete them, because very few of our assignments are overnight kind of homework. So, but if you want to see when it's assigned, again, for the students on their to-do list, the only thing they see is when it's due. Unless they specifically, again, go tell them when it's assigned and things like that.
And I'm going to say, my son goes to Westmont. And from a parent perspective, and I'm not like a helicopter parent or anything like that, but it is very, very nice for my son to be able to log into School Loop and see that checklist. So if you're not putting things in there, and the student is checking school, I mean, most of them have their mobile devices and they have that School Loop app. That's often where they're checking their homework. If they're clicking on that and they're not seeing those assignments, they've probably marked them down somewhere because, you know, that's the other option, right? But it's more likely that your students are gonna be checking that app.
One other thing I'll point out, any assignment that you create in School Loop, a lot of times people say, hey, I have kids that they're writing papers or journal entries or something, and I want to get them to stop turning in hard copies, right? Maybe you're moving all around and you don't want to carry them or whatever. Every time you generate an assignment in School Loop, there's a place for students to submit that assignment that automatically happens.
If it's
So-
in the grade book.
Assuming that it's in the grade book, so you make an assignment to grade. So if I make this assignment, I put this in my grade book, I think. I didn't? Okay, so I need to edit this one, and we'll go put this in my grade book, because I took it out for calendar purposes. So it's in my grade book now, and I can go to my portal and look at the class, and is it here? Yeah, and assignments. Once I click on assignments, it's gonna pull up, am I not seeing it? Oh, I'm in the wrong class. I'm in geometry. So here's my assignment here. I can see the list of them, but when I click the assignments, if they've submitted things in the assignment list, I'll see all of the stuff that the students can submit. And they have the option, when they click the assignment, to just submit the files. You don't have to like go create anything for them to submit it. It automatically shows up there. So I know a lot of English teachers use that, but
Jeremy?
Can you add an assignment that's not in the grade book? So like, for instance, I don't want to, I have my own calendar that I give them and everything, but if I wanted to show up in this little clicky checkbox and be like, I did my math homework, can I just have a math homework assignment that repeats every day? Because I mean, every day they're gonna have it.
absolutely. Yeah, you can just create it, and that little check mark for grade book, just uncheck it, and it'll show up on the calendar view, but when you look at your grade book, it doesn't show up. But it does show up on their
So
to-do
they have a little
list.
checkbox thing that they can be like, yeah.
So they can still check it off as a to-do item, but it doesn't show up in your grade book to clutter all your space out. That's the
So
question.
we're running out of time. If you have any questions related to School Loop, Brad is an excellent person to talk to. If you have any questions related to IC, Julie is the person to go to.
Unless it's about an IC grade book, in which case you want to speak to Andy and Rich.
Okay.
Sorry.
That would be Andy.
Okay, and if you have passwordy kind of stuff, you can't log in, or anything related to the library, Destiny, textbooks, see me. And, this is something that Dave
Dave and
set
Juan
up, and
asked
Juan
us.
set up, that teachers need, especially if you have Chromebooks in your classroom. These are things that you need to make sure that you are doing correctly,
So
okay?
everybody needs to take one, because Dave asked us to distribute them, and if it doesn't apply to you because you don't use them, I don't care what you
leave
do
the
with
paper-
them.
You can leave the
but
paper
he
on
did
your
ask
desk
us
if
for
you
that.
don't need it, but keep this posted somewhere.
Yes.
It should be up here, just.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And login is my name.
I'm Brad.
Standard login, my name.
Yeah, you're, just like your regular login for computers, it's your first name _ last name, and then FUHSD.
Okay.